Back in November of 2006, I spent 2 nights camping out for a PlayStation 3. I managed to get a 20 gig fat model that I'm still happy to say works today. I like to rub it in faces of friends that were able to get the 60 gig wireless model every chance I get because theirs all died. 2 days later, on Sunday morning, November 19th, I woke up on a whim and hopped in a Best Buy line to see if I could snag an original Nintendo Wii. I was number 70 something out of 100 units available. I thought it a gift from the gods after enduring that horrible wait for the PS3 2 days prior and losing out on the quote-unquote better model. As I approached the counter with the new Wii in hand, I was asked what games would I like. I noticed The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess as one of the release titles. I couldn't pass up the chance to get the most well-known AAA title to come from Nintendo. So I yelled at the cashier with full enthusiasm. No thanks, Wii Sports is fine. Because that shit was sold out by the time I got there. I did eventually get to play it on the Wii, jerk off controls in its full glory. It was one of the first titles I bought, once it was back in stock. I remember playing it up to the Master Sword section and then suddenly just fell off. Not sure why, but I plan to find out this time around. When I discovered that you could emulate the GameCube version on the PC up to 4K resolution, I was itching to play. Itching because real gamers don't shower. I'm going to play this game from beginning to end and share with you the most notable parts that happened during my playthrough. And at the end, I'll share with you my final thoughts. This isn't a typical review, it's more of a reaction. I feel like this doesn't need to be said, but this video contains spoilers, and you should really play the game, then come back and watch this video. So here is the Tony experience of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. So I will start off by saying that the dungeons are stupid easy. If you've played a few Zeldas like Ocarina of Time, in my opinion the best one, then you won't have a lot of trouble with the puzzles in these dungeons. It feels similar to when Jason Bourne was like,
I know Kung Fu.
You just remember it. The controls on a controller, compared to the Wii thing, just feel better. I honestly hated playing the wolf parts on the Wii version when I first started this game. I didn't mind playing on the controller for the GameCube version. I don't know, maybe I just set my expectations really low this time around, but I just thought it felt more natural. One thing I did find harder, and I don't know if this was always the case or if it was just because I was using a PlayStation controller on an emulator, but aligning yourself to pick up things was much tougher. I'm talking about pixel-perfect speedrunner accuracy, followed by a Tom Brady-like laser throw to get the bombs in the right place. I'm not sure all of you will get that sports reference, so ask your Madden playing friends.
You were saying football things in a football voice. How do you know about football things?
Also, the camera is inverted, which means it's for dumb people. I'm just kidding, invertards. I saw a diagram on how invertards think, and it all makes sense. But if Narcissus can't see a problem with himself, neither can I. Another thing that happened during my playthrough was that I didn't have my Hylian shield well through the second half of the game. I did find it odd, but I just thought the story was going to guide you along to get it. Turns out it's just a shop item I never bought. And then when I did eventually find it, I didn't have enough money. But that's because I was donating rupees like it was nothing. My bad for being so damn generous.
I'm rich, bitch!
I couldn't help but notice that Zelda was kind of like your side chick next to Midna. But there's also Ilia too, so she's like your side chick. She isn't there for much of the game, except for that time she got sick of Link's tries to kill him. Which, in all fairness, her name is in the title of the game. And he's running around with 2 other chicks trying to save them?
I'll tell you what I'd do, man. 2 chicks at the same time, man.
By the time I reached the Master Sword, I didn't care what I was doing. Midna was pulling my leash figuratively and literally to make me do her bidding. She'd string me along with this half-hearted incentive that was to help Ilia get back her memory, who I barely knew, Zelda, who I barely knew, and save Midna's world, who, surprise surprise, was a character I barely knew. In the words of a famous soap maker,
We have just lost cabin pressure.
I now realize why I quit back when I did. It was a lack of investment. After having that bombshell moment, I told myself I would see it through. I will say that I saw some glimmer of hope. The majority of the dungeons in the second half were more my style, typically lengthier. It was now suddenly taking about 2 hours to complete them, versus the first half, it was only taking 1. This meant that it was more of a challenge for me, and completing the dungeons had more of an accomplishment factor to it. Side note, the Sky Temple took me about 5 hours because of a stupid detail my peanut brain couldn't figure out. Get closer, you. Hey! But let's just try to purge all memory of that horrible ordeal. They also required more thinking in the puzzle-solving department. Yes, I understand that each dungeon prior was to get you used to the dungeon item and its mechanics. But I personally got more enjoyment out of the second half's design creativity. That being said, they were not perfect. I ended up backtracking twice in 2 of the final dungeons because the boss key was not in a really intuitive spot. It wasn't until I reached the boss store that I wondered how I missed the boss key on the way through. Have I just been lucky in every Zelda playthrough, only to have this happen to me twice in the same game? Kinda sus. The other real pain in my was what I'm calling the Road to Sky Temple fetch quest. They mixed a ton of steps, some which included a day and night cycle. There was even an in-game paywall. I couldn't help but feel like it was thrown in there to extend the game's playtime, which is totally unnecessary. Luckily, I had enough bugs to sell the creepy bug girl who actually threatens you if you don't give her all your bugs. So, as I reached the last dungeon, it was over. Like, before it even started. I'm pretty sure I saw only half the castle, and I already had key in hand getting ready to fight the last boss. Though, when I went in, I had my doubts that it was even him. So when I saw my boy Ganon on the other end, I was like,
Oh, hi, Mark.
cool, let's do this. And just like that, the game was over. If you've played a Zelda game before, you're pretty familiar with the puzzle solving. It's not a bad thing, but leaves little room for Twilight to stand out. It's not till the second half of the game that it really starts to shine. Although, like I said, even that had some flaws. It really felt like a child of its time, as something at the end of the GameCube's life, rather than an introduction to the Wii's life. Lord of the Rings lighting, Smash Melee moves, SS tricky snowboarding. The story kind of felt tacked on to a bunch of cool dungeon concepts. The drive to complete this game was not even for the title of the game. Zelda was an afterthought. The story of Zant and his belief that Ganon was this god that could save them was treated like this big mystery reveal at the end, when I thought it should have been something that could have been explained in the beginning. I would have cared more about why I was doing what I was doing. In a way, it seemed like even the devs kind of forgot it was a Zelda game. I'm by no means calling it a bad game. It just needed more intention. Thanks for watching the Tony experience of The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like. I don't know how often I'll be posting these videos, so if you want more videos like this, please consider subscribing. This video was based on a review off my website, tonytranblog.com. So stop by there if you want more questionable takes on content I'm consuming, or get a preview of what might be the next review. All successful YouTubers end their video with some silly catchphrase. So, beep boop, bye.